What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Mark Z Drumcast. I am your host, Mark Zapata. I am the owner and founder of Mark Z Drums. And I want to welcome you to the show. This is a special Thursday edition of the Mark Z Drumcast. And I'm not getting anything here. Why am I not getting anything here? Hold on a second. Very, very interesting. But that's okay. Because, hold on. I want to make sure it's okay. All right. All right. Ooh. Interesting. Very interesting. Are we experiencing technical difficulties? We just might be. Because I'm getting conflicting messages here from different places that we are... Okay, that's better. That's better. Let's just deal with some technical issues for a second before we get started. There we go. Okay. Just have to make sure everything is in tip-top shape, is in order. Okay. Very cool. Let's dismiss this. Welcome to the Mark Z Drumcast. Like I said, this special Thursday edition, we're going to be going over some cool stuff here on the show today. It is a gloomy day on the East Coast. Rainy, a little bit chilly, but the temperatures have gotten better. Mid 40s. I think we're heading for even higher temperatures this week. We started out, we had a rough patch about a week ago where we were seeing single digits overnight at times. And teens, definitely teens, throughout the week last week. But things have gotten much better. Sorry about that. Things have gotten much better. Today, we're going to be talking about some very important building blocks for drumming. I'm going to show you a couple of things. We're going to talk about a couple of things. And as far as anything else goes, well, I think there's a lot of good stuff happening here at the Mark Z Drumcast and Mark Z Drums Studios. But, wow, why are we... See, I'm not getting excellence here. And I really want to have excellence. But I'm not going to worry about that because it's pretty good. I'm getting fair. But fair is just fair, right? We always want to strive for excellence in whatever we do, whether it be drumming, life in general, the things that we want to get out of our lives. And you can tell I'm stretching, right? If I had a producer, my producer would be like going like this while my producer worked on whatever issues we might be having. But I don't really think we're having any issues. I think other people are having issues. I think other streaming services are having issues. I don't think I'm having an issue here. So we're not going to spend any more time on that. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the building blocks of drumming. We're going to talk about the Legos of drumming, if you will, those being rudiments. And rudiments are exercises that we do for our hands and our feet to build coordination, to build speed, stamina, fluidity, build our timing, and all kinds of things. But most importantly, our creativity. Because the more building blocks we have, the more creative we can be. The more we know how to do, the more we can create. So we are going to be talking about those building blocks. And those of you who may be further along in your drumming journey, that's okay, because it's never a bad thing to go back and talk about building blocks. It's never a bad thing to revisit basics, right? We should always make sure that we are going back to our basics and then moving forward from there. Because sometimes if we move forward without solidifying some of our basics, it's going to leave holes in our game. It's going to leave holes in our playing. And we're just going to have to go back and patch those holes anyway at some point. So if you feel like you may be stuck in an area or stuck in your drumming and you feel like you're not progressing, it's never a bad thing to go back to basics and try to figure out things that maybe we're missing. Maybe we've skipped over or skimmed over, and seek out those things, because usually we build from the ground up, and a strong foundation is really key to building a strong, lasting structure, something that is powerful and will, sustain, and then something we could build upon. The more we build on a weak foundation, the more unsteady we become. So we want to build that foundation up. Basically, we have 40 standard rudiments that we've had for many, many, many years, which is a testament to the fact that they do work and are effective, and everybody who plays drums. No, let me not say that. Let me back that up. Many of us that play drums have established that these exercises, these rudiments, are helpful in building our drumming. So let's talk about that. 40 standard rudiments. Percussive Arts Society is the website you can go to, and you can search 40 standard rudiments, PAS, and you can get your very own copy of the 40 standard rudiments. I will also include a link in the bio to the 40 standard rudiments and a bunch of other stuff, practice materials and things that I have put together that will help to just make us better. So 40 standard rudiments. It may seem like a lot. It's really not that much when you break it down. What I like to do and what I like to teach my students is that any task that we undertake that seems to be difficult or seems to be impossible or intimidating, we can break these down into smaller, more manageable chunks. And you could really apply this to anything in your life. If you have a big task that you were trying to accomplish, try breaking it down into smaller bits, smaller goals. And then as we progress, we have success with a smaller chunk, we move on to the next chunk. That will also help to motivate us because we're having small successes along the way. When we're, for example, looking at a big piece of music with a lot of notes, a lot of dynamics, a lot of things in there, on first look, at first glance, it may appear very intimidating. Well, that's okay, but we need to think of it in terms of where can we start? Where can we start to take the first step to meeting this challenge and ultimately conquering this challenge? It's like anything else. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And that's the kind of mindset we should have. Because number one, it'll reduce our frustration if we're really trying to take on something that's very challenging for us and we find that we're not making progress. We need to make that challenge smaller. We need to cut it down, break it down. So the way I approach a large piece of music is I get as much information about the song as I can. I'm looking at the time signature. I'm looking at the flow of the music. Are there any repeats? Are there any parts or sections I need to go back to? Are there any whole sections that repeat? And what are the dynamics? Where are we starting? How loud or softly are we playing? All of those things, the more we start to look into it and kind of gather this information, the less intimidating it becomes. And then as we start to look at the notes themselves and start to determine what we know, what we don't know, what we're comfortable with, what we're not comfortable with, then we could start to work on the things we're comfortable with and find the answers with a teacher or through different resources of the things we're not sure about. Okay, so this is an approach that I take when I'm learning anything, whether it's a song, a piece of music on a written page, or anything, writing music. It's a small step approach. So getting back to the rudiments, 40 rudiments can be broken down or are broken down into 5 families. I like to call them families or 5 groups of rudiments. So right away, we've kind of made this task a little bit smaller and more manageable because we could look at one family at a time, one group at a time, and start to work through them. So first of all, let's talk about these groups or families of rudiments. The first one is the roll rudiment, consisting of a single stroke roll, a double stroke roll, a triple stroke roll, and then 5 through 17 multiple bounce roll, long rolls, and things like that. The second rudiment family we will call the paradiddles. And now there's only 4 in the paradiddle family. So that's a more manageable group to start to take on and to start to work on. The third one we will say will be the Rudiments family, another small group of rudiments. There's only 3 in the Rudiments family. You can take those on as well. And now you can see we're starting to progress through the rudiments. The 2 largest groups or families of rudiments will be the flam rudiments and the drag rudiments. And we'll get into the basics of each one of these families just to get started. We can do the basic couple of rudiments in the roll family. We can move on and we can tackle the entire paradiddle family, and we can tackle the entire Rudiments family. When we get into the flam rudiments, we could work on the first couple of flam rudiments and then take a look at the drag rudiments and work on the first couple of drag rudiments. That's a really good start. That's a really good starting point, jumping off point for getting into rudiments. And what rudiments will do for us is will introduce us to a lot of different patterns, a lot of different ways to play rhythms using our hands. Mostly it's going to be a combination of single strokes and double strokes, and some taps along the way. So if we can get good with our single strokes and our double strokes, which are the first 2 rudiments I always suggest when we start working on rudiments, and those are part of the roll family, we can use those 2 rudiments to begin to build the other ones. So first, let's talk about what I have here. I have some really cool equipment here. If you can see in the overhead view, this is my Vader percussion dual surface practice pad, and this is a great place to start if you do not have a drum set yet. We can do rudiments on a practice pad with a pair of drumsticks. We can do rudiments on our knees with our hands, just practicing the patterns and the coordination of it. If we don't have sticks yet, if we don't have a practice pad yet. If we have sticks only, we could use couch pillows or couch cushions. We could set up different things, pillows and such, so that we can start to develop our coordination. So this Vader percussion practice pad has 2 surfaces on the top. The red area here is more of a softer sounding and feeling part of the pad, which will simulate a regular, let's say a snare drum on your drum set. The black area is a little harder, right? Gives you a different feel, and it's more a simulation of like a marching band snare, which is a different type of drum head that is tensioned high and will give you a different response and a different feel. So the great thing about this Vader Percussion practice pad is that you have two different surfaces to choose from. You can have two different feels and two different sounds. So as we start moving through our rudiments and we start to compare the right hand to the left hand, what we're doing, you can play two different surfaces to get two different sounds and start to listen to the right hand pattern on its own and the left hand pattern on its own. This is something that's really cool because as we start to develop and build out our rudiments, we can start to move them around the drum set and use different drums and different sounds to make our rudiments that much more interesting and fun to play. Secondly, I have here, which was a prize I won from my good friend Skinny George on TikTok, on Instagram. Skinny George is a really great drummer and a really great teacher, and we've spoken on occasion, and I've taken lessons with Skinny George, and he's helped me out quite a bit with my hands. Check him out, Skinny George on TikTok and on Instagram, and I'm sure he's got other platforms that he's using. So this is the Evans Real Feel pad. It's a very popular pad. It's made right here in my area of the world, Long Island, New York, and it's an Evans Real Feel made by Diodario. And so we have a nice soft surface here for the Evans, and we flip it over and we have the black side on the bottom, which is similar to the two surfaces of the Vader pad, where you can get a more of a different kind of sound and a different kind of feel, different kind of rebound from the black side, more along the lines of a marching band snare, a harder surface than you do on the gray side. Both these pads are awesome pads. Right now I'm using Vader drumsticks. I'm using the Power 5Bs. I'm going through a little bit of a time where I am looking and searching for different drumsticks. The Vader Percussion is one of my favorite sticks. The Power 5Bs are a little heavy, I'm noticing, for what I'm looking for. I like a 5B, but a longer 5B. So I was actually playing the Vic Firth, what is it called? The 5A, and it's an extended stick, so it's about a ½ inch longer. Maybe it's an Extreme 5A, I think it's called. So it's a little bit longer of a stick. So I'm looking for something. I'm also going to check out some ProMark sticks, which is also made by Diodario here in New York. ProMark 5Bs, I'm going to check out. They make a really, ProMark makes a really, really nice drumstick. And so I'm going to be looking into that as well. As far as, hold on a second, can we get, nope. Okay. So let's talk about our rudiments and let's talk about where we begin. Like I mentioned before, I want to start out with the basic single stroke. And again, getting back to basics, super important. If we concentrate on really doing our single strokes really well, on time, evenly, and with power, we can then develop all of the rest of the rudiments much, much better, right? Because again, we're starting out with the foundation, single strokes and also double strokes. So a few things to consider and to remember when we're doing our single strokes is we want to make sure that both our sticks are coming up the same height. The stick height is important because the stick height will determine how loud our notes are. We can start out with a low stick height, but always remember when we're working with the single stroke roll, we want the stick heights to be the same. And there's no reason to play fast at this point. There's no reason to play fast right now. Because really what we want to do is we want to just develop a strong, clean, even stroke. And if you find that when you're playing your single strokes faster, that they're less even, if they're a little bit wonky as we play them faster, we need to slow them down to the point where we can play them very evenly and deliberately with equal power. Because this way, when we do increase our speed, which by the way will just naturally happen as we increase our technique and we get more comfortable playing single strokes in a very deliberate and even way, our speed will just naturally increase. If you notice anything that we try, the more comfortable we get with something, the more we do it, the more we practice it, the faster we can do it, the better we can do it. I like to compare it to sports because a lot of my students also play sports. And I say to them, do you practice your sport? And they say, yeah, well, I go to practice, I go to soccer practice, I go to baseball practice. When you go to baseball practice, do you hit balls over and over again? Do you practice your swing a lot? Do you go to the batting cage? Yes. Why? Because the repetition increases our technique, increases our performance. So this is what we want to do with drumming. It's the same thing. So we want to practice even strokes. We want to watch our technique like we do in the batting cage. We might have a coach. We might have somebody who's telling us, okay, do your feet this way, move your feet that way. Your footwork needs to be this way. You need to get your hips involved. You need to swing around. And that is how we get better with our technique and improve our technique. Same thing with drumming. As we're doing our single strokes, we want to watch our hands. We want to make sure that the left and the right hand are doing the same things, pretty much. We want to make sure we're holding the sticks the same way in each hand, provided we're playing matched grip. We want to make sure that our hands are holding the sticks in the same way, which will give us the same result on each side. We want to make sure those sticks are coming up the same height as one another. We want to make sure when we're striking whatever surface it is, being your snare drum, a pillow, the practice pad, whatever it is, that we're hitting in the same spot every time. We want to make sure that these sticks are coming straight up and down. Straight up and down, right? The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So we want to bring those sticks straight up and straight down to ensure that we're hitting in the same spot all the time. This is also a good way to improve our accuracy. When we're playing on a drum set, the best place to hit the drum is in the center. We will get different sounds if we hit towards the rim, and if we're deliberately trying to get those different sounds, that's fine. But if we want to get a nice full tone out of our drums, we're going to hit right in the center. Right in the center. So this is a good way to practice that accuracy when we want to move to the drum set and we want to play in the center of our drums. All right, so those are the things that we want to work on or pay attention to when we are playing our single stroke rolls. This is a great warm-up to do, and then if we do want to increase our speed, then we bring it up slowly. We increase our speed gradually. Okay, we don't want rapid increases in speed. We also want to keep our tempo steady for the most part, unless we are trying to increase our speed. But what I would say is if we're doing a certain tempo, and then we want to try faster, then we stop and we increase our tempo and we start again at a faster tempo. But we want to keep that tempo steady throughout the exercise. This is also something that can be done in front of the TV. And once you start to get comfortable with these exercises, and we don't have to focus so much on our hands, and we're kind of feeling comfortable with the way we're stroking the drum or the pad, we can do this in a situation where we might be listening to something, music. We might be watching a show on television. And this is a great way to kind of not be concentrating on, oh, I have to do these single strokes, but just getting them done, right? Getting that work in there. you see in the gyms. You get on a treadmill, you get on an elliptical machine, and what do you have? You have a TV screen. You have TVs up in the rafters to kind of focus on and to watch and hold your attention while you're doing this work that needs to be done. Because it may be a little bit not super interesting, maybe. And when I'm talking about single stroke rolls, I know the tendency is for people to think, well, you know, what's that going to do for me? Or it's only a single stroke roll. Right, but it's a building block. It's something that's very important that we get really good at, because the benefits are going to come later when we use single strokes, because really we're using single strokes all the time. Whatever we're playing on the drums, we're using single strokes. Whether it's multiple strokes on one hand in the case of playing on your hi-hat or your ride cymbal, right? We want those strokes to be strong, powerful, as fast as we need them to be, and controlled. So this is why we're doing this exercise. Single strokes. Then we start to work on our coordination a little bit more by doing double strokes, 2 strokes each hand. Right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left. Keeping in mind that we want to do the same thing that we're doing with our single strokes when we're playing our double strokes. We want to keep those sticks coming up the same height, hitting the same spot on the pad or whatever surface we're playing on. We want to keep a straight line, straight up and down with our doubles. We want them to be even, powerful, and controlled. Once we get to that point, we can start exploring combinations of single strokes and double strokes, as in the paradiddle. Paradiddle is right, left, right, right. And if we start with our left hand, it's left, right, left, left. All right, so we're doing 2 single strokes, right, left, and 1 double stroke, right, right. 2 single strokes starting with the left hand, left, right, and then a double stroke, left, left. That is a paradiddle. Keep in mind, when we're playing a paradiddle, we want all the notes to be evenly spaced. So it's going to sound, if we're doing it right, like we're doing a single stroke roll. Right? But now we're going to add that double. So we want all of those notes to be evenly spaced when we're doing our paradiddles. Now that's the first of 4 paradiddles in the paradiddle family. If you download either from Percussive Art Society, or go ahead to the link in the bio, you can click on the link and it'll take you there. You can look and see the 4 different paradiddles. We'll get into that maybe a little bit later, but I want to touch on each one of the families really quickly. So we have the roll family, single strokes, double strokes. We have the paradiddle family, single paradiddle, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, left. And then we want to move on to, let's say, the Rudiments family. The Rudiments family is a little more complex. It starts out with a double tap, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. So ba 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 ba. We're going to double tap the left hand, and then right, left, right, left. And we're going to alternate hands. So we're going to start with the left hand, double tap, and then right, left, right, left. And then double tap right hand, and then left, right, left, right. And as we get better with our Rudiments and we get them faster, we're going to double tap that first note a little bit quicker. And there we have the single Rudiments. There's also a double and a triple Rudiments, which we will get into also. But I want to, like I said, I want to give you the basics of each family, so that once you get the basics, you can then move on to the other exercises in that family. So we've got the stroke family, the roll family, excuse me, the paradiddle family, the Rudiments family. That's 3 down. A flam. Flams are a combination of a light tap or a ghost note and a main note. When we're doing paradiddles, a single paradiddle, when we're doing a single flam, we want to have one stick close to the pad or the surface we're playing on, and then the other stick is high up. All right, the other stick is far away. And we're going to tap them both almost at the same time, with the low stick tapping first and then the high stick coming down afterwards. So you have a tap with the low stick and then a main note with the high stick. And then we simply switch positions. So notice we're not hitting the two sticks at exactly the same time, but just a little bit off from each other. Okay, that gives us that flam sound. So remember, when you see a flam written, you'll see a tiny little note and then a tie, a little line that connects the two, and a normal size note. That's going to be a flam. So remember to alternate. Start with one stick high, one stick close to the pad. As you're bringing the high stick down, right before the high stick hits, the low stick taps. This can be tricky and certainly challenging at first, but if you practice them slowly, you will get the timing of it, which is super important. Because as we start to increase the speed, we want to make sure that these notes are evenly spaced, and we want to make sure that they sound pretty uniform. When we move on, to the drag family, we simply add a second tap before the main note. So it's two taps and a main note. So I'll start tapping the left hand twice, and then the main note is the right hand. We can do it the same as we do the flam. One stick low, one stick high, and then just double tap the low stick before the high stick comes down. As we get better, more comfortable with it, we increase the speed. And there you have a drag. So once you get the flams, the drags together, then what will end up happening is we'll start to increase the patterns and changing the patterns, where that will include the single tap for the flam before a series of strokes, or a double tap for the drag before a series of notes. All of that stuff will be explained on the Percussive Arts Society 40 standard 40 drum rudiments, 40 standard drum rudiments that you could download. So that's a great start. And as we get comfortable with the most basic of each family, then we can start to see how they apply later on down the road. Let's get back to the paradiddles, because I have a fun way to remember all of our paradiddles. Most times, the rudiments are named for the way they sound. And this will help us to remember by the name of the rudiment what they're supposed to sound like and how we're supposed to play them, in most cases. Lesson 25 comes to mind, which really doesn't tell us anything about how to play it or what it's supposed to sound like. I believe the origin of Lesson 25 was that it was some kind of exercise in a book that became one of the 40 standard rudiments, and the name Lesson 25 just kind of stuck. So let's talk about a paradiddle. Let's break the name down into two sections, para and diddle. As we know, or maybe we don't know this, but let me explain. A diddle is a double. A diddle is used to describe two notes together in quick succession, two taps, a diddle. So the diddle in a paradiddle is describing the double stroke at the end. The para is the first two single strokes. So if we play a single para diddle, we have one para and one diddle, and it will go like this. Paradiddle, 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 paradiddle. So by breaking the name up into two parts, we can describe the para, which is the right-left or the left-right, and the diddle, which is the double that comes at the end. The next paradiddle in the family is a double paradiddle. So if we think about the word and the name, double paradiddle, that means we're going to play two paras and one diddle. So it goes like this: right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. Or para, para, diddle, para, para, diddle, para, para, diddle, para, para, diddle. Right? Simple. Keeping in mind, like the paradiddle, we want all the notes to be equally spaced. The next paradiddle in the paradiddle family is a triple paradiddle. So going along those same lines, triple paradiddle, three paras, one diddle. Para, 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 diddle, para, 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 diddle. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, left. Three paras, one diddle. Now, the fourth paradiddle in the paradiddle family is the paradiddle diddle. How do you think that goes? Exactly. One para, two diddles. Paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle. There you have it. Okay, the paradiddle family summed up by using the name of each one to describe how it's supposed to be played and how it's supposed to sound. Again, all of these equally distant notes. The one thing that's different about the paradiddle diddle is that it does not automatically change lead hands. We're always going to lead with the same hand when we're playing a paradiddle diddle. So if we start with the right hand, paradiddle diddle, we'll always start with the right hand. Okay? So because of that, when we're practicing our paradiddle diddles, we need to do a bunch with one side starting with the right hand. That was wrong, by the way, anybody who's really paying close attention. Paradiddle diddle, we'll start with the right hand, do a bunch, and then we stop and we start with the left hand. This way we're giving equal time and equal work to our left hand. I've said this constantly on the show, that our left hand, my left side, my whole left side of my body is kind of useless compared to the right side of my body. So I want to make sure that when I'm practicing my rudiments and I'm doing my hand exercises, that I give my left hand equal work, all right? If not more, to bring it up to the level of where my right hand is, both coordination-wise, speed-wise, endurance-wise. It'll just bring up that left hand closer to where the right hand is. When you've been playing for a while and you've been playing rock beats and things like that, with the right hand on the ride or the right hand on the hi-hat, you're playing way more notes with the right hand than you are with the left. Same with the feet. Right foot on the bass drum, we're playing way more notes than we do with the left foot. If we're playing any notes with our left foot to open and close the hi-hat, that's good, but for the most part, we're holding that hi-hat closed with our left foot, and our left foot is just basically a paperweight. So we want to start to work on that so that we can even out these hands and bring them closer together, or bring the left hand, in my case, the left hand up to where the right hand is. That will result in our playing being more even and balanced, and our ability to do things with our left hand will increase, thus giving us more options around the drum set. More options in beats, fills, anything we want to do, polyrhythms, independence. Okay, we're going to develop that left hand to be as coordinated, as fast, and as controlled as the right hand is. At least that's the goal. So start working on your rudiments, start working on your building blocks, If you have been playing for a while, revisit your rudiments, revisit those building blocks. We'll talk more about them on a later show. It is, what's today, Thursday? So normally this would probably be the Wednesday or the Friday show. Um, we had a little shift in scheduling this week, which is okay because we always need to be flexible as we are. What up? What's up, Brandon? I just saw your message. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining. Thanks for saying hello. So we want to really get back to our building blocks, and it doesn't matter. I've been playing drums for a long time, and I always like and need to go back to my rudiments. I always like and need to work on my foundational stuff, the building blocks, the basics. I've been a teacher for a long time also, so luckily in that respect, I am always constantly working on rudiments with my students, always developing their technique, which in turn helps me to continue to develop my own technique. It's really been a blessing to be able to be teaching as long as I've been, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. But again, I get so much out of it myself. And I know my students get a lot out of it, and that's what I'm doing it for. But over the years, I've realized how much I really get out of it myself. And if not just for the fact that I get exposed to so much new music from my students when they come in, with bands I've never heard of, and helping to increase my knowledge of music that's out there today, and not just the stuff that I'm already familiar with. So that's another blessing that teaching brings me. And then remember, when we're doing our rudiments, start out slow. Start out as slow as you need to play them properly. Start out as slow as you need to really get a good feel for it. The speed will definitely come. The speed will definitely be there in time if we're consistent in our practice. The speed will just naturally come. Then, at a certain point, we may want to focus on increasing our speed, and then we can do that. But in the beginning, when you're getting comfortable with a new thing, a new rhythm, a new rudiment, a new exercise, we want to start it out nice and slow. Because number one, if you're anything like me, I don't like to not be able to do things, right? I like to do things perfectly immediately. And all of that's kind of crazy talk because there really is no perfect, but I want to be good at everything I do immediately. And I've really had to adjust my mindset to say, well, that's not really going to be possible with all things. Sure, there may be some things that you pick up like instantly. Boom, you're really good at it already. Okay, fantastic. There are going to be other things that's not the case. So we need to be patient with ourselves. And if we come across something that we don't immediately excel at, we want to give ourselves an opportunity to learn it. We want to give ourselves an opportunity to get better, be patient with ourselves in the process. And a big part of that is starting out slow because it reduces our level of frustration. It keeps us grounded in what we're doing, and it allows us to make the mistakes we need to make, like that one. It allows us to make the mistakes we need to make in order to get better. Mistakes are our friends. They're learning opportunities. And so don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about doing everything perfectly right away or playing something fast right away. I know that's my first, thought and feeling. Hey, this is a new thing. I want to see how fast I can do it. And a lot of people are like that. A lot of my students are like that. So I like to gently remind them, hey, we're not going to always be able to do everything super fast, but we want to do everything evenly. So we start slow, and then we increase the speed. And then as we get faster and faster, hey, look, we're playing everything evenly. That is the number one job, right? That's our number one priority. So I think, let me see where we're at with time here. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow, that flew by. I had no idea we were streaming live for so long. If there's anybody on Twitch that wants to jump in and ask any questions or say hello or follow or whatever the case may be, yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead and do it. We can talk. I can hang out for a little while longer. Um, yeah, for sure. Okay, we're excellent here. I don't know, that bothers me, right? So it's telling me my restream stream is fair. The bit rate is not quite up there. Um, but everything else is telling me we're doing great. So that kind of thing bugs me. Anybody, let me see. This is really, really cool. Yeah, see, we're like right up there, man. We're doing great. This is a very healthy stream, except for one thing. Nobody's talking to me. That's the problem with this stream. But that's okay, because you can watch this later on. And if you watch this later on, reach out, say hi, send me a direct message. It doesn't matter. We can chat about stuff. I want to build a community here, especially on Twitch. I really like Twitch. I've been streaming on YouTube for a while. The Mark Z Drumcast has been on YouTube for a while now. And I recently got back to Twitch because Twitch is a really cool community. And a lot of people like to come in and hang out and talk drums. And so that's what we're doing. One other thing before I let you guys go. Paradiddles, right? We have 4 paradiddles in the paradiddle family, as we talked about: single paradiddle, double paradiddle, triple paradiddle, and the paradiddle diddle. I want to give you a really cool exercise. If you are pretty good with your paradiddles already and are familiar with all of the family of paradiddles, a really fun exercise I've found is to move between those different paradiddles and start to build your ability to move seamlessly between each one of those paradiddles randomly. But what I like to do is start out with a certain pattern of paradiddles that we can do that will help us to randomly move paradiddles around the drum set. And here's how it goes. We start with the right hand single paradiddle. When we move to the left hand, we play a double paradiddle, starting with the left hand. We move back to the right hand, playing a triple paradiddle, starting with the right hand. Then the left hand will play a paradiddle diddle. When we end that left-handed paradiddle diddle, we're going to then start on the opposite hand. And then we'll do that same series of paradiddles again, starting with the left hand. Single paradiddle, and then the right hand will do a double paradiddle, then the left hand will do a triple paradiddle, then the right hand will do a paradiddle diddle, and then we'll start again with the right hand doing a single paradiddle, left hand double paradiddle, right hand triple paradiddle, left hand paradiddle diddle, and go back and forth like that. Again, start slow, and you'll be able to master this, and then on the fly decide what kind of paradiddle you're going to play next. So I'm just going to play that for you with my drums on. Let me move this over here, and let's see what that sounds like. And that's how it goes. Now I'm going to move it around the drum set a little bit so that you can hear the difference. I will play the paras on some other drum and then the rest of the paradiddles on the snare drum. And this is what that sounds like. as you can see, as I'm increasing my speed, I'm making more mistakes. So we want to keep it slow until we really get comfortable with it. Let me try it again slow without increasing my speed. And so as you move through your progressions, you can start to move those accents, and we can accent them to determine what hands we're playing on the different drums. We can accent on the different drums, and then we could start to move through single, double, triple, and then paradiddle, diddle. And then after a little time, when you get more comfortable with it, like I said, you can just start to improvise what kind of paradiddles you're playing when. And that's where the real fun begins, because now your brain is working, and then it's translating into physical action, and we're getting different things on the drum set. And there you have a little example of random paradiddles around the drum set. Keep in mind that whatever rudiments we're doing, we can move to the drum set, we can translate them to the drum set, and we can start incorporating them in a more musical way by using the different drums. But all of that starts with practice on one surface, on the pad, to really get those paradiddles down. Because as we're moving around the drum set, the number one thing we want to consider is we want to make sure that we are keeping the sticking proper, okay? And in order to do that, we need lots of practice on a pad or one surface so that we can really get comfortable moving between all the different paradiddles. All right, so I think I'm going to end on that. I want to thank everybody for checking out my video, whether it's live or on replay. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. And go over to my different socials. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm on YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and I have some cool drum covers coming out, some stuff that I've been working on with my student bands, and I'm excited that this Sunday, I'm going to be playing a show with my student bands. We had a drummer that cannot make the show, and I've been working with my students playing drums for them, and it's always a super fun time. I love my students. They're great. They're dedicated. They're hardworking. They're all girls, and they rock. They kick much butt. So anyway, come and check me out on all my socials. Head over to my Patreon if you want to help the Mark Z Drum Studios doing what we're doing over here, and become a patron, become a member. There are some really cool things that you will get as a reward, not just the least of which is supporting me and what I'm doing here. If you like the content, if you got something out of it, I appreciate it. But again, as I always say, any support is appreciated. A follow, a like, a share, a subscription, a comment, a thumbs up, whatever it is, I appreciate your support. So thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time on the Mark Z Drumcast. Probably Saturday, I think Saturday. And then following week, we'll get back to our normal Monday, Wednesday, and Friday schedule, barring any unforeseen circumstances. All right, have a